The instant my son gently pulled the hospital curtain shut behind him, I felt it in my chest. Something was wrong. There was no smile, no joyful sprint toward me, just a steady gaze from eyes far too burdened for an 8-year-old. "Dad," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, "get under the bed." There was no room for questions. I obeyed. We crawled beneath the cold steel frame just seconds before the sound of heels echoed against the linoleum floor. Each step cut through the silence like a blade. Through the narrow gap in the curtain, I saw her, my wife. But she wasn't alone. A man followed behind her. She let out that familiar laugh, the one she used to say for me when I'd tug her into a dance while cooking dinner. But now, it only made my stomach twist in knots. "He's too sedated to notice anything," she whispered to him, keeping her voice low. "Let's just sign the discharge papers and leave. He won't even remember I came." I held my breath. My son reached over and placed a small hand gently over my mouth. No shaking, no fear, just calm resolve. He knew. Somehow, he already knew to protect me. 2 weeks before I was supposed to be discharged and return home with our newborn daughter, she filed for divorce. No explanation, no face-to-face conversation. Just a courier, delivering a manila envelope that would split a family in half. In one arm, I held our baby girl. In the other, the documents that shattered my reality. Humiliation doesn't make a scene. It lingers, heavy and silent, like lead in your chest. But her betrayal started long before the ink dried on those papers. I remember a time when things felt real, when we were happy or close enough to believe we were. Long talks on the balcony after midnight, whispering baby names while sharing takeout, her laughing at my terrible impressions. I thought we were building something lasting, something honest. Then, things changed. She started working late. Passwords on accounts I used to have access to were suddenly changed. She switched perfumes. And then one night, our son looked up at me and asked, "Why does Mommy always smile when Uncle Jake calls?" Jake. My old friend. My partner in the business. The man we named our child's godfather. The truth didn't hit me all at once. It came in fragments, a call history filled with his name. A message she accidentally sent to me instead of him. He has no idea. Just a few more months. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I watched. I waited. Pain can make you reckless, but when you channel it, it becomes purpose. Purpose cuts sharper than rage. She believed I was defeated, that the divorce papers had broken me. While she plotted her escape, I studied her every move. I backed up files from her computer while she slept, pulled surveillance footage from the office, called in a favor from a friend who owed me, asking him to follow her. And what I found? It was bigger than infidelity. She wasn't just planning to walk away from our marriage, she was bleeding our accounts dry behind my back, selling off my shares in our company without my consent. Piece by piece, she'd rewritten the entire story, casting herself as the victim, and me as nothing more than an afterthought. They said I was unstable, overwhelmed, not cut out for fatherhood. The kind of man who would unravel under pressure. That's what they expected, to watch me collapse. But I didn't. Instead, I made a plan. It took weeks of quiet, deliberate work. I transferred funds into accounts that only my son could access later. I gathered every trace of evidence, emails, voice messages, spreadsheets, forged invoices. Jake had slipped through our business under fake names. I didn't breathe a word of it to anyone, not even my lawyer. I waited. I waited until after my daughter was born. Until she, my wife, felt untouchable, secure, confident. And then one morning, my son leaned in close and whispered 6 words that told me everything I needed. That was the day I set the final piece in motion. I invited both of them to lunch, made sure the setting was upscale, polished, calm, elegant. A place where people wore ties and lowered their voices, a place where eyes quietly watched everything. Jake arrived first, smug as ever in a suit that cost more than some people's rent. 5 minutes later, she walked in, wearing the necklace I gave her for our 3rd anniversary, as if it meant nothing. She smiled like nothing had ever been wrong. Confident. Careless. "I just wanted to say thank you," I said, lifting my glass, "for showing me exactly who you both are." Jake chuckled. "No hard feelings, right?" Without replying, I slid a folder across the table. Inside, a full timeline. Bank transfers. Surveillance photos. Signed documents. Records of embezzlement, cheating, and financial fraud. Every last detail backed by their own signatures and digital trails. Her hands started to shake. Jake went silent. "I've already submitted everything," I said, calm and direct. "The board knows. So does the IRS. This lunch, it's a courtesy." She opened her mouth to speak. I held up a hand. "You tried to destroy me while I was still holding our newborn in my arms." Jake's smirk faltered. "You're both finished. You've been removed from the company. Your assets are frozen. And as of this morning, I've filed for full custody of the children." She fumbled for her phone, tried to open her banking app. One glance, and her face went pale. Jake stood up, as if trying to regain control. "I didn't move. I just looked at them. I trusted you. Both of you. I let you get close enough to hurt me. And you did." Then I stood, calmly buttoning my jacket. "But here's what you forgot. I watch. I remember. And I don't make the same mistake twice." I stepped out into the sunlight, no fanfare, no onlookers. Just the quiet satisfaction of justice settling into place. That evening, I tucked my son into bed. He looked up at me and asked, "Is it all better now?" I smiled. "Yeah, it is." He believed me. Betrayal doesn't break a person, it exposes them. I once thought I was only a husband, a business partner, a loyal friend. But underneath that, I was something else entirely. Patient, precise, unrelenting. They mistook silence for weakness. But I wasn't falling apart. I was evolving.